everyone, and welcome to the Always On Point podcast here with Kristen Ambos, sponsored by my parent company, Point Mortgage. Today, I really want to do a deeper dive into VA. VA loans are a phenomenal opportunity for our veterans, our men and women who have served, who are either in military or are, and qualify for a VA loan, or are veterans. And the reason why is because government loans are popping up more and more. And one of the funny things that I was, bringing back up into my mind and from the file cabinets and back is about a year ago, I had said quite a few times, hold on, to real estate agents and to sellers, there's going to be a time where VA is going to come back and start winning offers. So please change your minds on why you think VA is bad. And bring it back to that we're not discriminating against any loan product. We're just taking the offer that makes the most sense, right? And not looking at VA as bad. And unfortunately, it was a really bad stigma. I'll bring this back around to the fact that my husband is a veteran, for those of you who don't know. And when we were buying a house, we were back and forth about building or buying, like many people are right now. Probably about 10 years ago. And that's when a lot of the VA stigma started and where multiple offer situations just really began. And we put in full price offers, did the letters, did all the things. I'm a loan officer. We were both W-2'd employees and have great credit and all the things. And that still didn't matter. We lost out on 3 or 4 homes because the real estate agents and the sellers on the listing side were speaking about how there could be a lot of trouble with VA loans. And so I get it. I really get it when people say that. I'm going to call agents out a little bit here because so many times the seller said they don't want a VA loan. But I don't believe that sellers really understood the VA side. They were being educated from their agent who is downplaying the VA because we didn't want to take anything that might have a little hair on it, right? So that stigma was VA appraisals. And the reality is any government appraisal, really what they're looking for is no chipping paint, no broken windows, railings on stairwells, CO smoke detectors on every level, really basic things for most homes. Now, obviously, if the home, and you can just tell by what I'm saying, if the home is a fixer-upper or a gut job, a redo, a flip, no, a VA loan or a government loan isn't going to be good for that. But sellers and agents on the listing side were talking sellers out of using VA for offers or accepting offers for brand new homes, for homes that were 10 years old and had no issues. Those VA loans should have been looked at just as hard. But that stigma stayed until just recently. And why I want to bring it back around and why I'm bringing my own personal light into this is because at one point, we know as buyers out there offering on more than one property and not getting it, especially if you're a veteran or you have a VA loan, being told that over and over again really sucks. I'm just going to say it. My husband's a veteran. He gave to this country. He stood up for the country. This is a benefit that he's been awarded for doing something that, to be quite honest, I never had enough guts to even go to boot camp, much less go serve in a war. And he did all of those things. And now you're going to say that we can't use our VA loan because the listing agent has convinced the seller that there's going to be issues and we probably won't close, or the likelihood of us closing is tough. And that's really hard to take. And now I'm not speaking about everybody, but I am speaking about the greater general of the country. This isn't even localized for listing agents and for sellers and listing agents. This is nationwide, an issue. This was a stigma. It was all over the place. Talk to any loan officer in any pocket corner of this country, and that existed. Why I'm bringing it up is because I want to explain the feelings that a veteran has when they've given everything. And now you even had in the last few years some veterans who purchased with conventional loans at a higher interest rate, paying PMI that never had to because the seller, quote unquote, thought that it was going to be an easier loan to do. When in fact, the VA probably would have given them a lesser interest rate and they would be in a 30-year fixed and they wouldn't have to refinance. And now those things are going to happen because guess what? Rates haven't come down. And so the other part of that is because while we were probably, and I'm willing to just say it, we were probably more qualified than a lot of the people we were up against, but we were losing due to the VA loan, strictly. At one point, my husband was like, I just don't think the house gods want us to have a house. It can be so defeating to a veteran who's out looking around, wanting to buy a home and can't simply because they want to use their VA benefit. And yeah, it sucks. Like I said, it's not fun. Until now, right now, as I sit here in the last fall, conventional loans have now started to take a stricter stance on appraisals, meaning they are very close to FHA and VA. So now what are the listing agents going to do to sell the sellers on not using VA? Because the conventional loan is probably going to bring just as much, if not more, issues from the appraisal standpoint. The reason for that is because so many people purchased with very little to no money down on a conventional loan, had no inspections, big mechanical issues happened, they didn't have the funds to pay for it. So some of those are what are ticking up the foreclosure ratio. Foreclosures are still at an extreme low. Don't confuse the two. However, because of that happening, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac came in and said, all right, we can't force you to take an inspection, but what we can do is we can tighten up our appraisals. We can tighten them up to make sure that there's no health safety hazards or any of the like, that people are actually getting good homes that aren't going to fall apart on them when they can afford them and how they can afford them, right? So that's just a basis. That's not the whole issue, but that's one piece of it. So what did they do? They went in and, as you heard, if you haven't seen, go back to my podcast with Lisa Hansen, who's not only a real estate agent and attorney, but also an appraiser. And she speaks more to that about how the conventional loans are. I sat in 2 different real estate agency meetings today, and both of them brought up appraisals and how their conventional appraisals are very much aligning with FHA and VA. And some of these agents were not aware of that. Even though this came out last year, I believe it was October. Don't quote me on that, but I believe the effect came in last October and last fall for sure. And now we're seeing that. We're seeing that these issues are coming up. So now what's happening is we're still pre-approving the same amount of FHA and VA buyers, but our FHA and VA buyers have solid offers even next to conventional. We just won a VA accepted offer this weekend, multiple offer situation. We were the only VA offer. That's me clapping right now because I'm so excited that our veterans are now winning offers because guess what? Conventional is just as hard or harder than government loans. So now what does that mean? You want to make sure that you're working with a really good, trusted government lender. And why I say that is because you have a lot of credit unions now who never did VA loans before, now quoting that they do VA. Their loan officers don't know VA. Their underwriters have not had experience with VA. So that is going to, again, put a stigma on us about, all the questions and things. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to get good at it someday. Maybe they have a VA pro on their staff right now. Very well could be. I'm not speaking about any specific credit union. I'm just saying in general, right? In general, credit unions were always supposed to be more of an in-house portfolio type lender. Now they're taking on government financing. I have been doing government financing now for 25 years. And even during COVID, when everyone, and I quote unquote say everyone, said that no one would ever approve a government loan, out of 400 loans closed that year, 25% of my loans were still government loans in little old Green Bay, northeastern Wisconsin. My own loan is VA. We've written VA. My husband and I have purchased with VA. We've cashed out refinance with VA to do home upgrades. We've just simply refinanced to get a lower rate using their VA IRRRL, which is an interest rate reduction loan. We've used all of them. I know VA inside, outside, upside down. If you are a veteran and you want to even try to get your offer accepted and work with somebody, I'm going to scream it from the mountaintops. I'm your girl. And here's why. Not only will you be able to get potentially a lower interest rate on VA. VA typically has a lower interest rate than a conventional loan. Typically. Depends on the market that day, but again, typically. Also, you have no private mortgage insurance, which means if I'm a veteran and I'm trying to get a conventional loan and I only have 5% down, let's say, I have to pay PMI and I have tighter debt to income ratio restrictions. If I'm VA, I don't have any PMI. For $100 of PMI, I can probably buy $10,000 to $15,000 more house. Now you qualify for more. And while I'm doing that, I will tell you right now a perfect example of working with a real estate agent that wants to structure a loan with their lender. This one is one of my most favorite ones that we're working on right now. We have a couple, VA. They're purchasing a home. It's not over $1 million, but it's not far off. And it's been on the market for a minute. And our veterans really, really love it. It's a very unique property. And the agent called me and she's like, okay, what can we do for a seller credit? The sellers are willing to give a credit to come into this house to the sellers to the buyers, I'm sorry. Sellers are willing to give the buyers a credit, a closing cost credit to help them with their closing costs and fees to make it more attractive. 4%. Well, this ended up being a seller credit that could have gone up to almost $30,000. And that's a lot of money, right? And there's only so many points you can buy to buy your rate down with that $30,000. About $7,800 is going to cover their closing costs, their first year of homeowners insurance, their escrow setup, all of that. So about $7,800 of that. Well, we still had about $17,000, $18,000 to use. On a VA loan, I can use that seller credit to pay off some of my veterans' debt. You heard that right. I can use some of that to pay off my buyer's debt. With that being said, we took that $17,000. We're paying off a vehicle loan and a credit card for our veteran. Buyers are ecstatic. The sellers are super happy because they are now negotiating on a home that they didn't know for a minute they were even going to sell. Everybody's happy. We are literally putting this veteran into a much better spot, getting him a home that he loves. Sellers are winning because the sellers are selling. They were willing to put that $25,000 to $30,000 on the table to help entice a buyer to come. We made it work. That is being strategic. That is a lender and a real estate agent working, two real estate agents, selling agent and buyer's agent. I'm sorry, selling agent and listing agent. You guys confused yet? There's so many names for all this stuff. My buyer's agent, the listing agent, worked together to put that together verbally. They called me. We made it work. We restructured the deal. Buyer, seller happy, all with a VA loan. In those two meetings I was in today, both the managers looked at me and said, are you seeing VA and FHA coming around a lot more? A lot more of our offers are showing that. And I said, you bet I am. And it makes me so, so happy because I have been kind of coined the Govy queen of our market for a long time because there are so many awesome things that you can do with government loans that you can't do with conventional. And so this makes me so happy because there have been so many people that have been judged and or not able to use government financing because somebody decided somewhere that this was terrible financing, and it's never been. It's always been great financing. Why? Lenders love it because the government is now basically having our back saying that if this loan forecloses, we're going to pay you back. What does that mean? Well, the lender is going to say, okay, my risk is really minimal, so I'm going to even give you a discount on your interest rate to use that loan product. Lenders have been pushing government loans for a long time because they're a really solid loan product to use. They're very good. There's a lot of wiggle room. There's a lot of leeway with them. And when you're working with a loan officer who understands them and understands them right, the listing agent recognizes that lender and recognizes that they've seen it before, they will accept those offers. So don't be afraid to write on a VA loan. Don't be afraid to get your pre-approval out with a VA loan. If you are a veteran who has walked out of the industry in hopes of using your VA loan to buy a house, get back in. Get back in. I beg you. I would love a shot at helping you get that loan and get that approved. I've got agents who understand that VA and FHA loans are great, who don't run from them. There's agents who I call and say, yep, this is a VA loan. And the first thing they say is, oh God, these people are never going to find a house. It's never going to happen. Nope, never going to find a house. Well, no, not with that attitude. And then I've got agents who I call and I say, this is going to be a VA loan or this is going to be an FHA loan. They're like, all right, let's do it. Those are the agents that win. Those are the buyers that win. Those are the ones that get into homes using VA and FHA. So I beg of you, if you're an agent listening to this who has really been deterrent on using government financing, call me. Let's talk about the why. Let's talk about why you had a bad experience. Let's talk about the understanding of it, because I'd love an opportunity to change your mind. Hell, I'll even buy lunch. Call me, let's sit down, we'll talk face-to-face as an agent, and I want to educate you. I want to get this out there because VA, FHA, and let's even throw USDA in there for matter. Those are all the biggest government loans. They're really amazing programs to use, and I'm so glad that they're getting a seat back at the table. If you are a buyer who had any of those loan programs, who were told no, who got offer over offer over offer denied, and your offer wouldn't get accepted, and you were told over and over again it was because you have a government loan, call me, let's chat. I really want to do everything I can to work with you to show you how this is different. And right now it's coming back around and I'm so ecstatic. And my government financing has not wavered. I still do a lot of government financing. I've got a lot of government financing on my desk right now, which is just proof in the pudding that you still can get an accepted offer. And while I'm saying that, to those who are out there who are like, oh, I'm going to look up our numbers and I'm going to make sure. During the COVID years, when they said you couldn't do government loans, and I told you guys I did about 400 loans in 1 year. And of that year, 25% of my business was still government loans. 95% of that business was purchase, was not refinance. 95% of those 400 deals were purchase, and of that, 25% were government loans. Do that math. There was a lot of government loans being done just by my team alone. We're big advocates for it. We use it ourselves on our own team. We love it. One of our girls has an FHA loan now. One of them has conventional. Like I said, I have VA. We understand it. We use them ourselves. We're proud to say that we use them. And we want to be the advocate for you, that you feel like maybe you weren't. And I want to put you in a line with an agent who's going to take that and say, we're going to get you into house, instead of cringing when they see your pre-approval letter because it says a government loan on it. That's how confident I feel in it. So please take that. This loan program, I wish everyone could use a VA loan. I really do. It's such a phenomenal program. But again, 100% financing, no private mortgage insurance. There really isn't a minimum credit score either. Now, if you have a low credit score, do you need some down payment? Yeah, you probably do. So I don't want to go in and say anyone with any score, anytime. No, there still are qualifying factors. We still have to outweigh the risks, right, to making sure that we're putting you in a position where you are going to be able to make the payments and win. But VA, FHA, USDA, those are really good loan programs. And veterans, call me. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's figure out why it didn't get approved before and let's get it approved now. Agents, again, if you were on the fence and, and some of it's just as simple as not understanding VA and not being competent in that loan program because no one ever taught you how to be. So this isn't a bash session on most real estate agents. I think it's just a lack of knowledge and understanding. And that's why I'm saying you want to talk about it. You want to do that VA. Like I said, call me. We'll do coffee. We'll do lunch. Let's sit down. I want to help educate you because, again, these veterans deserve to use their loan benefits that are awarded to them. So let's sit down. Let's do that. Thank you to everybody who is listening. If you know of a veteran who could use this, just share it with them. Help a girl out. Shameless plug. I am a loan officer here in Northeastern Wisconsin. I am licensed in about 10 states, and I can write VA, FHA in any of those states, USDA, doesn't matter. But I'm a consumer advocate in this mortgage space, and I want to do everything I can to help educate not only the consumer, but also the real estate agents, because together, when we work together and we truly understand how far we can go with lending programs and getting people into homes with it, the better off we are. And not only will you close that deal, that's called job security. Because if you don't think that that veteran doesn't know 10 other veterans that haven't been able to use their VA benefit to get in a house, they are. They're out there. They exist. Those FHA buyers who don't have friends who need FHA buyers who haven't been able to get in a house, we get them into that house. I promise you, real estate agents, think about that. There's so much more behind it. Don't knock it till you try it. That could go so many different ways. But again, these government loans are such good loan products that help a lot of people get in. Don't run from them. Let's just chat more about it. So drop any comments in the link, any questions you have on government loans. I'd love to hear them. You can find this podcast again on all the podcast platforms, including my YouTube page. Go over to Kristen Ambos. It's the Always On Point podcast. Please, on the YouTube page, you can drop your comments in there, and I'm happy to answer any questions anytime. You can also find all of my contact information. I'm never too far. You can find me just about anywhere. So thank you again for listening. Share, like, subscribe, and you will get this update every Wednesday as the podcast drops. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.